she's got that it factor, and she's had it since day one. Day one that she set foot in stores, and she's just continued to be great. I think she's really elevated the level of this league. What she's accomplished throughout her career. I don't think there's enough adjectives. And the type of competitor that she was. She's a maniac. She's a maniac. She has what I call the switch, which she got that switch. Kobe had the switch. Michael had the switch, where it was like you step between those four lines. There was times I wanted to fight her, especially overseas. And then she'd be like, "You want to go get a beer?" I'm like, "No, I want to kill you right now." Because she had that switch, that competitiveness, where she sees only winning, and it's what's made her great and really set her apart. But in her prime years, she was a whole ass problem. She was just scored all three levels. Tenacity, just nasty out there. Just had that nasty, which I love. Like, you love that as a competitor. So our league is going to miss her.
Our league is definitely, their league, I'm not in the W, but the W is definitely going to miss her, and the fans and the media like us who do cover the WNBA. That was Becky Hammon, head coach of the Las Vegas Aces, discussing Diana Taurasi's announcement that she's going to retire. Callie Finn, Terrika Foster-Brasby, thank you both for joining me. Callie, Becky Hammon's a coach you know well from covering the Aces. And Terrika, I feel like you and I had a discussion before the season ended, when the Phoenix Mercury were doing all the "if this is it," and we talked about Diana's career at that time, and we're like, okay, look, we will give her a proper farewell and just honor her when that time comes. I recall you, Terrika, saying that it wasn't a surprise to you; you were expecting it. So. Here it is. It came yesterday. I think people started to suspect something was happening because there was a post from The View that Diana Taurasi was going to be on earlier this morning, but they posted that yesterday. So it's like, is she going to announce that? I know Callie and I were texting about it, but that doesn't really seem like the Diana way to announce it. So then when, the Time piece dropped shortly after that, it was like, oh, okay, there it is. Diana Taurasi is retiring after 20 years in the WNBA, and a list of accolades that we could go on and on about. So with that said, are you surprised that she did it in time? I'll throw that to you first, Terrika, just because you've been covering this league for so long. Does this seem like the proper way for Diana Taurasi specifically? I know a lot of us want the fanfare and the farewell tour, but based on her personality, does this seem in line with what you would expect from Diana?
Yeah, to be honest, this just really gives me Diana vibes through and through, right? Like, the decision was made, and you can tell because Time doesn't write an article today and put it out tomorrow. So there was countless thought process that was put behind this. And if you just read the first few paragraphs in the article, you'll see that she said, when the new year came, that's kind of when I knew. Usually around the beginning of the year is where I feel like this is the time for me to start gearing up and getting back in shape. And this particular year, I just didn't feel it. And so it makes sense that this was a thought out decision. One that I thought was going to come last year at the All-Star game in Phoenix, to be honest. One that I knew that she was already considering when I started to see the "if this is it." So I wasn't shocked or surprised at all. It really felt on brand because Diana is a calculated person, right? She's not someone who technically makes moves, or not someone who would, you would see do things temperamental, or would do things just, in the spur of the moment. She's very calculated. She's very intentional. So it makes a lot of sense that all of this comes after the decision was already made in her mind that last season was going to be her last season.
Callie, I'm curious, even though we all kind of expected this was coming from Diana, right? It still feels like when they actually hit. It's like, you can maybe plan for something, prepare for something, but then the news actually drops and then you're like shocked. I wasn't shocked, but I feel like it still sort of hit fans like, oh my gosh, and media members, all around. I saw like everyone from Terrika posting about it. I saw people like LaChina Robinson. I saw Ari Chambers, all of you who have been here kind of laying this groundwork in this space, covering this league. So you guys are sort of the pioneers of this space, but I saw you all posting about it and just how much you were moved by covering her and what she brought to this league. So Callie, for you, how did you feel when you finally saw the news drop?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where even if you anticipated it, which I think we all did, it still hits you because you think about everything that she's meant to the league. I know, like, for my specific situation, like, we were at the Aces facility. They were doing an introductory press conference, and as soon as they had like finished their panel, all of our phones started going off, and you have like Mark Davis in the front row and like other Aces personnel being like, Diana Taurasi, like she announced like it's done, she's retiring. It was just a crazy thing to experience because it's like, wow, like this is sending shockwaves, around the sports world, not just the WNBA world. Like DT is a legend because of so many reasons, but what stands out to me, I think, is her dedication to winning. Like she is a competitor who has won on so many different levels, right? Like one in college at UConn. I mean, there's a really fun story that I love about her, which is in her freshman year, UConn lost in the Final Four, and she made a vow that they would never lose in the tournament again or in that situation again. And they didn't, you know what I mean? Like that's a dedication to winning. And so like, after the 2021 finals in Chicago, that door got it because they lost, you know what I mean? Like she wants to win. And so that's something that everybody appreciates about her. I thought it was so cool that I got to ask Becky Hammon about just her reaction to Diana Taurasi retiring. That answer that we showed early at the top of the show is like truncated. She spoke for like 3 minutes about just like Diana Taurasi's impact and like how she hopes at some point she'll just sit down and like share what it's been like to watch this league grow because DT has had such a huge role in that development. And so that was something I love that Becky pointed out. She's like, I know she's going to write one hell of a book someday. And like, I hope that we'll continue to praise her. Also, there were like stories. You heard some of those just about the competitor that DT is, but it's still shocking. And it's like, if you've been a fan of this game for a long time, then you're starting to feel some of this. It's like, okay, no DT, no Candace Parker, no Maya Moore, no Simone Augustus. And like, it's just, we're entering a new era. So I think that's why it kind of hits so hard.
It definitely feels like, I don't know if it's like the official, like, okay, we're in the new era because obviously we've seen new players coming in, but it really felt like with DT giving that final announcement, it's like, man, this is really the end of an era. And so, Terrika, I'm curious, I saw people saying, what's your favorite Diana moment? And like, I just thought Becky Hammon was so funny because like, Diana's like a menace on the court, and then you're like, oh, let's go grab a bear. I mean, like, she's so, it's just so Diana. And I'm wondering, are there any moments that you've had with her or just favorite moments from watching her all these years that really stand out to you?
Yeah, there is. It's one that I will tell anybody when they ask me about Diana because I was even shocked at this moment. So a couple of years ago, while I was working for a different network, we were hosting our college game day at in Dallas for the Four. And so it's the beginning of the show, and actually the show hasn't even started yet. We're actually in the makeup room, in the green room, and in the makeup room there is Sue Bird, there's Christine Williamson, there's me, and then Diana Taurasi walks in to get her makeup done as well. And, I had worked with Sue before, so not a big deal. Like, it's a big deal to see Sue, but it's like, hey, I know Sue knows me. I know her. And there's Christine. And Diana walks in and she says, oh, hey, what's going on, Christine? See you, Bird. Hey, Terrika. I froze. gross. It was just like,
She knows her
how
name.
it was the craziest thing. It was like, how does she remember my name? And to me, that just again shows to the point where I say she's intentional, right? Like she has that warming personality where she knows how to make you feel comfortable. And, you know, the competitiveness and the menace that she is on the court, it is so different than the sweet person that she is when it is over, like when we are done. And that is what I love the most. And so that's my favorite off court DT story. I'm just incredibly grateful that that woman remembered my damn name. So that is so awesome to me.
Well, look, I totally get that. I had a moment like that at Unrivaled with a legend in the making when Nafisa Collier, and even recently Sabrina Ionescu acknowledged me and they like hugged me and they're like, hey, good to see you. And I'm like, I don't know if they know my name, but I was just like, they know me. They know who I am, you know? And like, I'm so new to this space, so I can only imagine what like someone like Diana doing that was like. I'm so honored that I got the chance to at least interview her one time briefly on the orange carpet at All-Star, and it was just so funny because she was just so enamored with my On Her Turf mini mic. She thought it was so cute and adorable. She's like, oh my gosh. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but like her hand kept hitting my wire, so it kept coming unplugged, because you guys know we like just plug those into the phone. And she's like, oh man, mini mic for the loss, you know, she's just so funny, you know, and it was just a fun moment. I mean, we did end up like going through our interview. I was talking to her about going to the Olympics, who she wanted to play with, and, you know, what she's looking forward to. But it was also cool because I asked, I think almost every other member of the Olympic team who they're looking forward to playing with, and so many of them said Diana. Sabrina did, Stewie did. There were more, of course, BG, you know, because like, I mean, come on, six gold medals, you know, this is what she's done in the Olympics. Yeah, look at her record. I mean, it's just.
Can I just add to that really quickly?
Sure.
Whenever I have done an interview with people, and there's been several, anytime I ask the question of who gave you your welcome to the WNBA moment, 90% of them said DT.
Yeah.
Either she bumped them, crashed into them, elbowed them, there's something that DT did to make you remember, like, this is still my court, no matter how long it's been or I've been in the league, I'm still that girl. And so I totally love that. I remember a couple of years ago, I did an interview with Dewana Bonner for Slam Magazine, and I was asking her about her transition from leaving Phoenix to coming to Connecticut. And one of the things that she told me was a story about when she was a rookie, how Diana motivated her to go out and be her best self by buying her first designer bag, and that she still has that designer bag to this day and what it meant to her. So she had a great example of what it means to be a great vet. Now that she's spent a lot of time in the league and has been a veteran to a lot of new players, she basically said, this is the example and the bar was set for me. And so I don't want to, one, continue to disappoint my vet, but number two, I want people to have that kind of experience that I had. And so I just think, again, DT has done a lot for the game, but she's touched the game and been impactful in many ways, more than just the accolades that we see on the court.
Well, Callie, do you have a favorite DT moment? I don't want us to just get ours in without you getting in yours.
Well, can I share a DT conspiracy? Because I have one.
Okay.
I think, so okay, if you look at the WNBA logo, since the league's inception in 1997, it's never been a specific player. They've always said like it's generic, we're basing it on the league overall. But they announced a new one in 2019, which is the league logo that we have now, the WNBA logo. And the WNBA said, okay, well, it's just logo girl. We took input from players, but that's Diana Taurasi. Like the WNBA logo, is it not? You're going to tell me that's not Diana Taurasi? The bun, the layup form, I feel like it's her. And honestly, I want them to just come out and say that it's her, especially now she's the league's leading scorer by a landslide. The runner-up, Tina Charles, is behind her by 3,000 points. Like, that WNBA scoring record is going to stand for a while because of DT's longevity. I feel like that's such a good way to honor her. Like, we're talking about these stories and the ways that she's impacted the game and what she's given to the game. Like, I just don't want to be a conspiracy theorist anymore. Like, I need us to admit that she's the logo. Like, that's all I want.
Well, I don't know if she is. There's, how it's sort of similar in the NBA with the whole Jerry West thing. They So, do you think she's the logo, Terrika?
I don't think she's the logo, but if they did take pieces, they certainly took that bun from DT.
Thank
Like
you.
everybody know that, but there are specific characteristics that come from people, and there will never be a player that will rock a bun the way that DT has rocked a bun. But also, let me just add, I'm gonna make sure Tina Charles knows that y'all don't think that she can get these 3,000 points.
No disrespect.
Yeah. I don't want any smoke with her because actually we're talking about welcome to the league moments. Asia is somebody I get to interview pretty often, and she said that Tina Charles gave her welcome to the league. So I don't want any smoke.
It's something about UConn. Well, I don't know what Gino teaching them up there in stores, but it's something about UConn. They cutting up.
Actually, I think Angel said that this year too. Angel Reese also said that Tina Charles was like giving her some work and then being like, "That's okay." That's okay. So yeah, no, I don't want any smoke with Tina Charles. I believe in you, but I do think it's a very impressive lead that DT has with this scoring record, and I think it should be honored. And I think the logo is a good way to do that.
Well, you mentioned some of her accolades. We talked about the 6 gold medals in the Olympics. We have it right here, how many points that she scored, 3 WNBA titles, 6 Olympic gold medals. She's a 2-time WNBA MVP. She has so many accolades. We could go on and on and on. And we're not even getting into, we talked about the Olympics, but she also has an international career, that's impressive as well. So, I mean, she's Rookie of the Year. She's won Most Valuable Player, 3 NCAA titles. Obviously, this is a summary, and there's just so much more. So Diana Taurasi is just one of the most decorated athletes, not just WNBA player, but athletes. She's been tremendous for this league, for women's basketball. I will just leave with my favorite on-court moment from her has to be the kiss on the cheek. Who does that? Diana Taurasi. So I just want to say thank you, Diana, for all that you've done for women's basketball. Women's basketball cannot be discussed, the legacy of it, without talking about Diana Taurasi. So those are my last words, but I want to give you both any last words you might want to say.
Yeah, well, for me, it's also a thank you for being you and not allowing the outside noise to do anything more than it typically does, which is to drive you to be an even heavier competitor. I mean, Kobe donned her white mamba for a reason, right? And we would be in complete denial to say that for a number of years, people were tired of hearing the name of Diana Taurasi. People acted as if it was a burden to hear and have the name Diana Taurasi mentioned. And that is a number of reasons, from coverage to, not people, really doing their homework and understanding the legacy that she was leaving or building. There are a lot of reasons for that. And it's one of the reasons why I'm glad that people like her and Candace Parker left the game the way they did, right? Because we're not here for fake love, right? We're not here for the fake farewells. We're here to give people their flowers because they deserve them, but it should be genuine. And so I appreciate her continuing to allow those things to fuel her and to fuel those around her. The more pissed off she was, the better the player she was. And I love that about her. So I too, just say thank you for continuing to be you. Thank you for continuing to set this level of excellence that a lot of people and a lot of players aspires to have. Thank you for continuing to put that into other people, because the league is in great hands now, right? We're seeing our greats retire and hang it up, but I'm not at all worried about where the WNBA is going or where it's headed from an athlete or from a talent perspective, because baby, this league is amazing. And the stars that are in it, the stars that haven't even gotten to it yet, right? That we're watching Hannah, and we're watching Juju, and we're watching Olivia and Kiki and Lauren. The league is in great hands. But
and Paige.
And Paige, right? But you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
there's so many people who will contribute to this league, and I didn't even need to mention Paige Beckers, right? That's just how good of a place we are with women's basketball right now for our future generations and the players that are currently in it continuing this legacy. So just, congrats to her, all of her future endeavors, whatever it is that she decides to do, her and her family with Penny, all of them, just much love to them for real. And I wish them all the best.
Callie, I am curious if she's going to let us in a little more now that she's retired. I know Kobe, you mentioned Kobe, and like obviously he named her the White Mamba, but I remember not loving Kobe when he played just because he beat my teams or whatever. But I developed a different kind of respect for him. Like really later in his career, and once he retired, and then he would go on all these shows and be so insightful. And so I don't know what her journey is going to be post-retirement, but I am curious to see what she does, and I do hope we hear more from Diana. Callie, last word.
I just want to add, I mean, we all said thank you. To me, it's like, thank you for representing. Terrika touched on it when she talked about DT having no problem being different, but I think we would be remiss not to mention she is a bilingual Latina descending from immigrants, like a first generation, two immigrant parents from Argentina. And I reading that article in Time, she mentioned that playing basketball is what helped her feel like she belonged. And I think that when you look at a league like the WNBA and just like basketball, representation is so important. I mean, like for me as a Black woman, seeing Black women achieve the things that they're achieving, but for the Latina community to see her speaking Spanish in press conferences and like just speaking about that aspect of her identity also so important. And like I look at like, you're talking about the league being in good hands. There are players who aren't even in college yet that are that give some of that confidence, like Aaliyah Chavez, top high school recruit, also Latina. And I think that things like that are just so cool. And so to me, it's like, I don't know, just imagining DT staying close, but also the impact that she's probably made. Like we will likely see more Latina basketball players who will cite DT as someone who was an influence for them. And so to me, it's like, thank you for that also. So many things to thank DT for, but I think the representation, Spanish in the press conferences, like that's never going to get old. And like, I just think that that's really cool.
Well, there you have it. That's a word, and we'll end on that. Thank you, Diana, and congratulations on your retirement and a legendary career.